Pain has never been your enemy. It has been your teacher, your maker, your unseen companion. You may curse it, you may try to escape it, but it never leaves because it was never meant to. It came to carve you into something greater. Every scar on your soul is proof that the sculptor is still at work. The world tells you to avoid pain, to numb it, to run from it. But that is how people remain soft, how they stay unformed, untouched, unfinished. Because only through suffering does shape begin to emerge. Only through struggle does identity become real. The gods did not design you for comfort. They designed you to endure, to evolve, to become the kind of being that even the storms bow before. Think about marble, cold, unfeeling, lifeless. And yet within it lies form, strength, beauty. The sculptor takes the chisel and strikes. Each blow removes a piece that does not belong. It hurts, but it reveals. That is what your suffering does to you. Every hardship, every heartbreak, every betrayal is a strike against the stone of your old self. Every loss removes what you were never meant to carry. You think you're being destroyed, but you're being revealed. The sculptor knows exactly how much pressure to apply. Too soft and nothing changes. Too hard and the masterpiece breaks. Your pain has precision. It's not random. It's refining. Every sleepless night, every silent cry, every moment you thought you couldn't go on. Those were the sculptor's tools, shaping the architecture of your spirit. You want to know why you've suffered so much? Because you were meant to carry more. The ones destined for greatness are always carved the deepest. The gods don't waste their hammer on clay, only on stone that can withstand the strike. And that stone is you. The weak think pain is punishment. The wise know it's preparation. Every challenge is a message. You are not done yet. The sculptor never stops until the image within is clear. So when you feel like you're breaking, remember, it's not destruction. It's design. People who live in comfort never learn who they are. Their edges remain soft, their spirit dull. But the ones who walk through fire, who bleed and fall and rise again, those are the ones who carry depth in their eyes. Those are the ones who embody the divine. Because the gods don't create through ease. They create through resistance. They forged mountains through pressure. They carved rivers through persistence. And they sculpt humans through suffering. That's the sacred truth no one wants to face. You don't grow when you're comfortable. You grow when you're cornered. The sculptor doesn't ask for your permission, doesn't wait for your readiness. It begins the moment you're chosen for more, and it won't stop until the divine form within you is exposed to light. That's why some people lose everything and come back stronger. That's why warriors rise from ruin, because suffering strips away illusion. It burns through vanity, through ego, through fear, until all that's left is essence. The raw, indestructible core of who you really are. So, the next time you suffer, stop asking, why me? Ask instead, what is this making of me? Because every time you survive pain, you are reborn sharper, stronger, closer to your purpose. The sculptor doesn't hate the stone, it honors it. It sees what it can become. Your suffering isn't cruelty. It's reverence. It's the universe saying, you are worth shaping. You've been hit hard. You've been cracked open. You've been through losses that left holes in your soul. But those holes, they let the light in. They make you real. You cannot inspire anyone by living untouched. People don't respect perfection. They respect persistence. Pain will introduce you to the version of yourself that comfort never could. It will strip you of your illusions, your dependencies, your need to be liked. It will break your ego into dust until only truth remains. And when that happens, when you've been chiseled by every storm and struck by every disappointment, you'll look in the mirror and realize the sculptor wasn't building someone new. It was revealing who you were all along. That is how gods are born, not from ease but from endurance. There is a moment in every life when the pain becomes too much to carry, when the weight on your chest feels unmovable, when silence becomes louder than any scream. That's the moment most people break. They run, they numb, they hide, but a rare few, they stay. They face the flame instead of fleeing from it. They let it consume everything weak inside them, and when it's done, something unshakable remains. That's the power of suffering. It's not there to destroy you. It's there to destroy your illusions. You thought you needed comfort. You thought you needed approval. You thought you needed to be understood. But the fire teaches you what you actually need: strength, clarity, endurance, purpose. Pain strips everything else away until those are the only things left. You may think the gods are cruel for sending hardship your way, but understand this: the gods don't test those they don't intend to use. If you've been chosen to suffer, it's because you've been chosen to carry something greater. You're being sculpted for a role that comfort could never prepare you for. When you suffer, you are in training. Every heartbreak hardens the muscle of your will. Every loss sharpens the edge of your focus. Every betrayal burns away your dependence on others. You become leaner, cleaner, sharper, more exact. The fire is cruel, but it is never wasted. The sculptor doesn't carve without vision. It knows what it's creating, and your pain. It knows what it's making out of you. You may not see it yet, but one day you'll understand why every disappointment was necessary, why every closed door was mercy, why every setback was alignment. The fire is revealing your shape. Every hardship is an act of creation. Most people think suffering is weakness. They see someone breaking down and they think they've failed. But the truth is, breaking is not the end, it's the beginning. The sculptor can't work with stone that refuses to crack. The old shell must shatter so the real structure can emerge. That's why the strongest people you'll ever meet have suffered the deepest. They've walked through fire that would have burned others to ash. They didn't escape it. They let it remake them. And now they wear their pain like armor. Not because they've forgotten it, but because they've forged it into strength. You see, the fire doesn't ask who deserves it. It simply burns. But what it leaves behind, that's what defines you. Some become bitter, others become better. Some turn cold, others become unbreakable. Pain doesn't determine your destiny. Your response does. That's the secret of the sculptor. It doesn't change the stone, it reveals its character. Some stones crumble under the chisel. Others ring out like steel when struck. The difference isn't in the strike. It's in the soul. So when life strikes you, and it will, don't ask for the blows to stop. Ask for the strength to endure them. Don't beg for the storm to pass. Ask to stand firm within it, because the gods don't admire those who avoid fire. They honor those who rise through it. Your pain has purpose. Your suffering has precision. It's not here to destroy you. It's here to define you. It's chiseling away the soft parts, the doubt, the fear, the comfort. Every time you think you've reached your limit, the sculptor whispers, "Not yet," because your form isn't complete. There will be days when you'll hate the process. You'll feel forgotten. You'll scream into the void and it will stay silent. But even in that silence, the sculptor is working. Because sometimes the greatest shaping happens when you feel the least seen. Pain is the purest teacher. It doesn't care about your comfort. It cares about your growth. It doesn't flatter, it forges. It doesn't whisper, it roars. And that roar, that constant hammering against your spirit, that's the sound of your higher self being born. You are not weak for suffering. You are not broken for crying. You are not lost for doubting. You are in process. You are being shaped. Every hardship is removing what's temporary so that what's eternal can emerge. The gods didn't create you to be soft. They created you to be sacred. And sacred things are never built easily. So, remember this. The next time the fire surrounds you, don't curse it. Thank it. Don't hide from it. Stand in it. Because one day when the flames die and the dust settles, you'll see yourself clearly. Not as a victim of pain, but as the masterpiece it created. There comes a point when pain stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like clarity. At first, suffering is chaos. A storm that tears through your world without mercy. But if you endure long enough, if you refuse to run, something happens. The noise starts to fade. The wind dies down. What's left isn't destruction, it's design. You begin to see that the storm wasn't against you. It was within you, clearing the path to something truer. That's the strange gift of suffering. It reveals what can't be taken from you. When everything else is gone, when the money, the friends, the comfort, the certainty are stripped away, you find what's real. You find the part of you that doesn't break, the part that doesn't depend on circumstances, the part that's eternal. Pain introduces you to that version of yourself, the version that can't be faked, can't be hidden behind smiles or distractions. It's raw, but it's honest. It's fragile, but it's real. That's where strength begins, not in pretending you're okay, but in facing the truth that you're not and standing up anyway. When you rise in the middle of suffering, you are rewriting the laws of your own existence. The gods watch in silence when you're in comfort. But when you're in pain and keep moving, that's when Olympus leans closer. Because that's when you're becoming like them, forged by fire, not by ease. Most people confuse strength with appearance. They think it's about muscle, posture, confidence. But true strength is invisible. It's the ability to keep walking when every step feels heavy. It's the patience to stay silent when your heart screams for revenge. It's the calm you keep when everything inside you wants to break. That's the kind of strength suffering builds. Quiet, unshakable, sacred. The gods don't give that strength to everyone. They reserve it for those willing to face themselves. Because suffering doesn't just test your body, it tests your soul. It forces you to see what you believe, what you fear, what you love. It tears away every lie until you're left with one question. Who am I really? When you answer that question in pain, your answer becomes truth. When you answer it in comfort, it's just theory. Pain has a way of making your identity real. You can't fake it when everything hurts. You can't pretend when you're at your lowest. In that moment, the sculptor's chisel hits the deepest, and the shape that emerges is your true self. That's why you can't despise your suffering. It's your maker. You think it's breaking you, but it's building your strength in layers. Patience, humility, resilience, faith. Each one is carved by hardship. Each one is earned. Suffering rebuilds your relationship with yourself. You start realizing you can survive more than you thought. You begin to respect your own endurance. You stop seeking validation because the pain has already validated you in the hardest way possible. It's shown you that you can bleed and still breathe. You can fall and still move. You can lose everything and still find meaning. And that realization that you can't truly be destroyed, that's where power lives. That's the moment you stop fearing loss, because you understand now that the sculptor can take everything from you except the will to rise. The gods know that will. They honor it. That's why they test you, because the divine doesn't bless the untested. It blesses the proven. Every strike of the hammer is proof that the sculptor still sees potential in you. Every blow is faith, divine faith, that you're capable of more. It's hard to believe that when you're in the middle of it. When everything hurts, it feels personal. You think life is against you. But the truth is, life is shaping you. The sculptor doesn't hate the marble. It loves it enough to make something beautiful out of it. So, when the blows come, don't ask for them to stop. Ask for them to mean something. Ask for the strength to learn. Ask for the courage to endure. That's how you turn suffering into strength. By refusing to let it be wasted. Every pain that you transform becomes a weapon. Every heartbreak you survive becomes wisdom. Every loss you accept with grace becomes power. And when all those lessons come together, they form something unshakable. Character. Character is the temple that suffering builds. It's what remains when everything else has fallen. It's the foundation upon which greatness stands. There's a reason the gods don't speak to the comfortable. Comfort keeps you asleep, but suffering wakes you up. It tears you out of your illusions and forces you to see the world as it is. And in that harsh light, you begin to see yourself clearly too. Pain isn't the opposite of peace. It's the path to it. You can't know peace without knowing struggle. You can't know strength without knowing weakness. You can't know purpose without knowing loss. The sculptor knows that balance. That's why it doesn't stop. That's why it keeps carving, not to hurt you, but to reveal what you were always meant to become. You've been through enough to know that comfort never made you stronger. It never taught you discipline, never gave you courage, never built your faith. Only suffering did that. Only pain forced you to evolve. And that's why you can't regret any of it. Not the heartbreaks, not the betrayals, not the failures. Each one was a cut of the chisel. Each one took you closer to your final form, because one day the sculptor will step back and look at you, not as broken, but complete. And in that moment, you'll understand why every blow was necessary, why every scar mattered, why every tear was part of the masterpiece. You were never being punished. You were being shaped. At some point, pain stops asking for your attention and starts demanding your transformation. You wake up one day and realize the world will not become easier. The storms will not slow down. The weight will not lift. You can spend your life begging for peace. Or you can decide to become powerful enough to carry the chaos. That's the moment the sculptor's hammer becomes your own. Suffering taught you that no one is coming to save you. No one is meant to. The gods gave you the tools, not the rescue. They gave you will, not ease. They gave you fire, not shelter. And through every trial, they've been whispering the same truth. You were not made to be protected. You were made to be proven. When you stop waiting for rescue, you start rising. When you stop fearing the pain, you begin mastering it. You stop looking at suffering as punishment and start seeing it as the raw material of greatness. You start to realize that everything you once resented, the failures, the heartbreaks, the long nights of doubt, were the exact moments that built your depth. They made your faith real. They carved your patience. They lit the forge of your endurance. That forge, that fire, is where you are remade. Pain is not a wall. It's a doorway. Every time you pass through it consciously, you evolve. The sculptor doesn't just work on you anymore. It begins to work through you. You start shaping your own destiny. You stop reacting to life and you begin creating it. That's when everything changes. Because now, the same pain that used to crush you becomes the fuel that drives you. The same rejection that broke your confidence becomes the reason you walk taller. The same failures that haunted you become the foundation for your discipline. The fire that once burned you now burns for you. And that's the moment the gods take notice. Because now you are not just surviving suffering, you are mastering it. You are using the sculptor's chisel yourself. You no longer fear pain because you understand its language. You've become fluent in endurance. You've turned agony into artistry. That's the secret few ever learn. The gods do not remove your suffering. They teach you how to wield it. They know that strength borrowed is temporary, but strength earned lasts forever. That's why they let you struggle. That's why they stay silent while you fight, because they want you to find the power in your own hands. The gods could have spared you from pain, but then you'd never know your own divinity. There's a kind of strength that only comes from surviving what should have broken you. That's divine strength, not just endurance, but transformation. It's when pain no longer defines you, but refines you. It's when you take what tried to destroy you and make it your reason for rising. That's the highest form of worship. To take suffering and turn it into creation. You've felt it before. That quiet fire in your chest that tells you to keep going even when you can't explain why. That's not survival instinct. That's the voice of something eternal. That's the sculptor whispering that you are still becoming, because suffering never ends. Not really. But it changes form. It stops being an enemy and becomes a teacher. It stops being chaos and becomes order. It stops being pain and becomes purpose. You learn to walk with it. You learn to draw power from it. You learn that comfort dulls you, but pain sharpens you. And in that sharpness, you become dangerous, not to others, but to weakness, to doubt, to fear. You become the kind of person who doesn't crumble when life hits hard. because you've already been hit harder and survived. You start to see the divine symmetry in everything. The way every loss carved humility, the way every heartbreak taught compassion, the way every failure forced patience. You see that the sculptor wasn't just shaping strength, it was shaping wisdom. And wisdom is what separates mortals from the divine. Anyone can endure pain. Only the wise can turn it into purpose. Only the disciplined can use it to create. That's why the gods demand it of you, because they want to see you rise beyond the limits of emotion, beyond the illusion of ease, into mastery. You may still bleed. You may still fall, but you no longer fall apart. You no longer see pain as the end. You see it as the beginning of your next evolution. Because the truth is, your suffering was never sent to break you. It was sent to awaken you. And when you reach that understanding, when you can look back on every wound and say, thank you, that's when the sculptor's work is complete. That's when you stop being the marble and become the sculptor yourself. You will look around and see others still running from their pain, still hiding, still numbing, still clinging to comfort. But you will no longer envy them, because you'll know what they don't. That the fire they fear is the same fire that forges gods. When you master your suffering, you become the storm. You become the fire. You become the sculptor of your own destiny, and that's when you finally understand. Your suffering was never a curse. It was the hand of the divine, shaping, testing, and blessing you into something immortal. There comes a moment when the hammer falls silent, the chisel stills, the dust settles around your feet, and you realize the sculptor has stepped back. Not because the work is over, but because you've become the artist now. That silence is not emptiness. It's mastery. It's the gods watching in stillness as you wield the very tools that once carved you. The pain that once ruled you now answers to you. You've learned how to hold the weight of your own fire without being consumed by it. This is the moment few ever reach. The point where suffering no longer feels like chaos, but like order emerging from within you. Every scar has become a line in the sculpture, every bruise a stroke of definition. You were broken 1,000 times, but each break was an introduction to your real self. The gods never wanted to destroy you. They wanted to reveal you. They tested you, not to watch you suffer, but to see if you would build strength from suffering, to see if you would curse the pain or use it, to see if you would crumble into dust or rise as something divine carved from it. And now you understand. Pain was never your enemy. It was your greatest ally in disguise. It was the proof that you were still alive, still unfinished, still becoming. Every trial was a reminder that you were meant for more. Comfort breeds amnesia. Pain breeds clarity. When you are comfortable, you forget who you are. You forget what you can do. But when life hits you, when it strips away the illusion of ease, it wakes up the warrior, the creator, the god within. The gods do not waste their energy sculpting clay that refuses to harden. They don't waste the flame on souls unwilling to be forged. If your path burns, if your heart aches, if your nights stretch long and lonely, it is because the gods have chosen you for the harder work. The sculptor only shapes what it intends to make eternal. You think you are being punished, but you are being perfected. You think you are being buried, but you are being built. The weight pressing on you is not meant to crush you. It's meant to give you shape, to test how much truth your soul can carry. Because the gods are not impressed by prayers. They are impressed by proof. And the only proof of worth is endurance. When the fire came, you didn't run. When the blade came down, you didn't break. You stayed. You suffered. You survived. That is sacred. That is divine. Look at the strongest marble. It is not soft. It is not untouched. It is solid because it endured pressure. It became art because it yielded to pain without shattering. That's you. The world will never understand what it takes to carry that kind of quiet strength. Most will see your calm and mistake it for ease. They'll never see the wars you fought in silence, the nights you bled for balance, the days you carried on with cracked hands and burning lungs. But the gods saw. They always saw, because pain is a prayer of its own. Every moment you kept going was worship. Every tear you refused to waste was devotion. Every time you stood back up, the heavens leaned in closer. You gave proof. That's what they wanted from the beginning, not words, but proof. And that proof is you, breathing, scarred, unbroken, still walking through fire and making it look like light. There is no finish line to this becoming. There is only deepening, the ongoing carving of a soul learning how to live with purpose. But one day, you'll notice that the same things that once crushed you no longer even reach you. The storms still come, but they don't move you. The hammer still strikes, but you've become too strong to fracture. That's not arrogance. That's divinity remembered. You've become one with the sculptor. You are no longer the stone. You are the force that shapes it. So let the world test you. Let life bruise you. Let time take what it will. Every blow will only bring out more definition, more truth, more fire. You were not made to live untouched. You were made to live tested, to bleed, to burn, to build, and through that, to become. Because when the gods look down, they are not searching for perfection. They are searching for persistence. They are searching for proof that their fire still lives in human form. Be that proof. Let your scars be the scripture. Let your struggle be the altar. Let your endurance be the hymn the gods cannot ignore. You are not what happened to you. You are what you chose to do with it. The sculptor's work is never to make life easier. It's to make you unbreakable. It's to turn your pain into art, your wounds into wisdom, your struggle into strength. And when you finally stand there, silent, still, carved by every battle, unafraid of the next, the gods will recognize you. Because you will look like them. That is the truth no one tells you. The fire that hurt you is the same fire that blessed you. Your suffering was never random. It was the language of creation. And now, as you rise, calm, scarred, and certain, remember this. The gods never stop sculpting those they believe in. If you still feel the hammer, if you still feel the fire, it means the work is not done. It means the divine still sees something in you worth shaping. So don't beg for the pain to end. Beg for the strength to endure it with purpose. Because you were never meant to live untouched. You were meant to live transformed. Your suffering is not your end. It is your sculptor. And it is still carving you into something eternal.